We're pleased that this was one step in a journey, and it was a foundational step, really anchored on reinforcing the heritage of the company around this concept of the third place. A place that's not your home and not your work, but a place that creates a warm, welcoming environment and a sense of belonging for all. So we're pleased with the step we took.
That was Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson yesterday speaking with me exclusively about moving forward following the coffee chain closing 8,000 stores for anti-bias training. Joining us now is Congress of Racial Equality leader Niger Innis. Niger, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria.
Was it the right move for Starbucks?
Well, it was a move that was made. I don't sit on the board of Starbucks. I can't say that I was thrilled with the coverage of this phenomenon, but I was pleased with your interview. It was a pretty thorough and intense interview that you had with him, and one of the issues that came up that we get reminded of is that Mr. Johnson runs a community, if you will, that's not just here in the United States, but all around the world. You know, there's Starbucks, I suspect, on every continent, and certainly in the biggest cities around the world. And I wonder if these standards that he's going to impose and that the board of directors are going to impose on the folk here in the United States, Starbucks, are also going to be imposed in other parts around the world. I mean, is Hong Kong going to have to be concerned about its religious minorities and other ethnic minorities? I mean, the United States is not the only country that has this struggle. In fact, I would say that the United States has gone a far longer way in addressing the struggle of race than any other country in the history of the world as quickly. And by the way, that's not my brilliance. That is something I had the pleasure and honor of learning at the foot of Roy Innis, civil rights icon.
Well, look, Kevin Johnson also addressed the economy. He talked about tax reform, growth in China. China is very important for Starbucks, by the way. So getting his take on how he's performed in China was important to me. And he also talked about this most recent deal with Nestle. Let's watch.
The economy in the U.S. is doing well. I think you just reported, unemployment is at a low, and so, our business last quarter grew something like 14% top line, and a big part of that was the acquisition we made of our joint venture in East China. East China and the U.S. are two big growth engines, and we're continuing to streamline the company and focus much more on our core business, which is our retail business. So we took a portion of the funds from tax reform and we invested in our partners in the form of wage and benefits. We enhanced the family leave benefits and a number of other things that we felt were the right thing to do for Starbucks and the right thing to do for our partners. I think we're now at over 3,800 stores across mainland China, and we just increased our annual store growth, net new store growth, to 600 new stores a year. So, we've been in China a long time. We have a great set of partners in China, Starbucks partners in our stores. We create a wonderful experience for our Chinese customers, and we're committed. It's a market that we think has decades of growth ahead. This global coffee alliance with Nestle was a significant step as part of our strategy to streamline the company and focus on our core value drivers. We've built a wonderful business in North America around consumer packaged goods and food services, selling Starbucks coffee in grocery stores, mass merchants, for example. But that's just in the U.S. And so what our relationship with Nestle will allow us to do that globally.
He spoke about China because it's real important to the company, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say one of your best interviews.
Oh,
it was really great, timely. It really covered so many different facets. I think Johnson and Schwartz are a great tag team, CEO and chairman. They really have two desires, to be a global company and to be the employer of choice. And to do that, you have to make sure customers that come in feel great about the product they're getting, no matter where they are. And I think they're really taking strides and do that. Whether they immediately did the right thing or not, I think they did. And I think with respect to what they're doing organically, we talk about all the time. Is it better to buy back stocks, or is it good to give wages and skills and things like that? It seems to me that organic growth is really working for Starbucks.
It sure is, and they're getting ahead. They like to get ahead of some of these social issues. Niger, your thoughts?
Well, I think it is a global community. It's a global company, and it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with these types of issues, social issues, and where they have stores in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
I'm very obviously. My namesake is Niger, so Africa is very important to me, and I'm curious as to how they are operating there in terms of that global, that part of the global community.
Yeah.
I think it's a ... Maria,
right.
on this.
Well, I remember
we'll
when
watch.
I was running UBS, we were in 25+ countries, and you have to be, local in nature, right? Business takes place locally, and I agree with Niger. You have to make sure that you have the right people and the right customs to fit locally.
14% growth year over year. That was an impressive number. Let me switch gears. Niger, ask you about President Trump calling out ABC following the network's cancellation of Roseanne over that racist Twitter comment. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders weighed in on what she's calling a double standard in the mainstream media. Watch this. Got to get your reaction.
The president simply calling out the media bias. No one's defending what she said. The president is the president of all Americans, and he's focused on doing what is best for our country. And you can see that in the actions that he's taken.
Roseanne also spoke out on Twitter. She hinted about eyeing a comeback. Niger, your take on all of it?
I don't know that comeback is going to come to fruition. I think Roseanne made a abysmally bad, sloppy mistake on her part, and that Mr. Iger made a wise decision by ending the program. But the president is also right to talk about the mainstream media and the hypocrisy when it comes to what some are allowed to do and others are not allowed to do. And there's no question.
But Niger, is Dagan McDowell. The president also mentioned that Bob Iger called Valerie Jarrett to apologize, but he never called him. He referred to himself in the third person. Never called President Donald J. Trump to apologize for the horrible statements made and said about me on ABC. This is a president who does not dispense apologies to anybody, really, for anything he says. So for him to question Bob Iger not calling him to apologize was a little rich.
I don't know about that, Reagan. I think that he was right to be concerned about his treatment by the mainstream press during his presidency.
I'm talking about the apology. This president doesn't apologize. I think the McCain family's still waiting for an apology.
Yeah, and you're right. He doesn't apologize. But Niger's also right.
Yeah.
There's an incredible amount of bias against Donald Trump in the media, and let's not dance around it. It's true.
Indisputable.
I mean,
indisputable.
Come on. Look at Keith Olbermann's Twitter feed and the F-bombs that came out, and Joy Behar and the other one holding the bloodied head.
We need to talk about at some point what Samantha Bee called Ivanka Trump on her show on Wednesday night, which you can't even begin to spell. It's so offensive. So if people want to get upset about sexism, get upset about that.
Niger, that's the story. It's the reality, isn't it? It's not going away.
Unfortunately, it's not going away, but I think there are some solutions out there. Stay tuned.
Niger, we'll be back to you to talk about it. Thanks for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you.
Niger Innis there.